I don't really have a next goal in mind. Some people think that you would have editing or, to be a radio editor or to. That's not what it's cracked up to be. I don't know that I'd want to. When you're an editor, you don't do much writing. You pretty much just sit there and you fix up other people's stories and arrange them. It's a very hard job and it's very tough, and I give them a million's credit for it. I don't know that that's what I'd want to do next.
Mm-hmm.
The next best thing, I think, would be to write for a radio-only publication, but we really don't have any in South Florida. Those are out of New York, out of Los Angeles, and I love South Florida, so I'm staying where I am for right now. I toss around maybe getting back into radio. I was in radio briefly myself for a while before I decided to stick with writing, but to do that, I would have to give up my radio column, so it would have to be something pretty nice.
All right.
I think about that as well.
Now, when you were in radio, what were you doing?
That was while I was graduating, actually, and I was working as an intern for a while. I did work briefly while I was a teen in radio, assisting, of all people, Rick Shaw from Waxy, when he was at WINZ-AM on Biscayne Boulevard. I was working with him for just a few months at the time, getting to know a little bit about the business, helping him. That was a lot of fun. I got the taste in my mouth for that. And when I worked again, it was coincidentally at Waxy as an intern where he was at the same time. I was hoping to become a broadcast writer or news or even a speaker. The station was automated at the time, and there really wasn't much room for a voice, so I found myself running tapes and running the Dick Clark show, and while I always loved even the smell of a radio station, I still enjoy that. There was nothing really for me to do there, and so I decided to take it to print, and then I went that way. So I was just really at 2 or 3 stations very briefly. It wasn't anything.
Now, having one, I use the word security in quotes because that's one of those things like happiness, love, and a guy named Joe. Nobody's quite sure what they mean. Having security in quotes because you have a byline, you're with a metropolitan newspaper, and having the talent to have achieved that. It seems to me your entree is bigger than ever. For those publications where you could be a contributor of articles, everything from a Reader's Digest to Tropic magazine to other places. I noticed my new friend Carl Hyacin, who, as far as I know, is a reader. I don't know this as a fact. Came off Tropic magazine to distinguish himself as a columnist for the Herald. He may well have been a city-side reporter before he did either of these latter things. But I noticed he's back in Tropic magazine with another piece this week.
Yes, and he's got a new book coming out pretty soon, too, as well.
Anything this guy does. First class. John Kiesler.
Yeah.
So Sam is the freshest young talent to come along in
he's very
many
I love his work. Well, I do contribute to Billboard magazine.
Good.
Yeah. So, and occasionally to I've written for Performance magazine, and not recently, but for South Florida magazine a few years back. It's just basically buckling down and getting the time and doing it. And
make it.
Yeah.
Make it. It's necessary. It's necessary. Because you're in a very peculiar business, and I can presume to tell it to you only because...
you were in it.
Well, I was in it, and I've got kids who are older than you. You can't make the mistakes that some of us have made, thinking in terms of, I have enough, because it's another word that begs definition. How much is enough, you know? Whenever you think you will have enough, you come up lame, because nature has a way of providing for you crises for which you need other advantages, including another $4. You have to move in different places. You have to be at the point where you have to say, I don't really have the time. Not capriciously, because capriciously none of us has the time. We'd rather spend that time daydreaming, fantasizing, or sometimes just feeling sorry for ourselves. That can be a full-time occupation. You've got to do all of these. You can. You have the equipment for it. And the more you are exposed to opportunity, the more you will capitalize the opportunity. You know the stripes they have on uniforms, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Corps, they call them fogies. You get extra pay for them. They're longevity stripes. You know why you get the extra pay? The story is this is a come-on money. This is to get you into the service. You know, this is a bonus. This is what we do instead of Shanghaiing. You can't Shanghai sailors anymore. They give you that money because the philosophy is the longer you have lived in service, the longer you are likely to live, the more you have learned. The more you have done with your byline, the more you are likely to get more opportunities to use your byline.
Sure, that makes sense.
It's so. And don't ever make the mistake of saying, I have enough. Who needs the monotony with a byline? Don't do that. You'll suddenly develop a shortage of friends. The telephone will stop ringing. The mailbox will have circulars and junk mail. Don't do that.
No, I won't.
Good.
Thanks for the advice.
Is that a call from my daughter here? Don't go away.
Really?
This is Linda's show. Good evening.
Hello?
Good evening.
It's a silent person.
Hello? Won't talk, huh?
No. Nobody there.
Carl, in the old days you used to say, let's put another nickel in. You can't do it now. They've raised the prices. Linda, I meant well. I didn't.
That light is on. It's,
yeah.
There's no person there, then.
No, there's no person. The lights went on all over town. Now in our closing 5 minutes, would you like to say a few words on behalf of Texas?
I don't know what to say about Texas, except that I drove through there once, and it looked very nice.
By the way, are you a native Floridian?
No, I'm from New York, but I've lived here for at least 21 years. So I feel like this is my home.
Were your people in any part of the media?
No, not really. My family is not related with the media at all. I'm the only one.
Yeah?
A lot of teachers, school teachers in my family.
And you're doing what you wanted to do, not just what you had to do.
That's right.
All right.
That's nice.
Okay. Carl, are you trying to tell me that these people are calling back? Huh? Let's find out. Good evening.
Oh, Sam Gyson?
Sir?
Sam Gyson?
Yes.
Well, I just want you to know that you just say the same thing in much less words than I can use to describe those two clowns that have a talk show on AM. They're a disgrace.
I didn't say that.
Didn't?
No.
Well, I believe they are.
Oh, all right.
Agree with me? Well, you don't have to say it.
No, I was talking about cruel people who think it's humor.
Well, to me, that's a disgrace.
Yeah, I don't know if they're clowns, because Emmett Kelly was a friend of mine. There was a clown, never hurt anybody in his life.
They were beautiful.
Listen, wouldn't you rather talk to Linda Thornton?
Okay?
I say, wouldn't you rather talk
Calls
to...
for you. Now, there's comedians like Don Rickles, and that kind of humor is just his act. It's his style.
Well, with Don Rickles, everybody knows he's saying everything in fun.
Yeah.
It's tongue in cheek. But these guys are doing
Well,
it
he
to
can get pretty nasty,
telephone
too.
calls.
Yeah, and it works. So that's the thing is you can't really argue with something that's very popular. I mean, you can't argue with it, and that's your right. But there's a lot of people who like to listen to that, and it does get out of hand. The name calling, it doesn't bother me personally as far as hurting anybody, because I think that most of these people in this business take it in the spirit that what it is. Sometimes in the past it has gotten a little bit monotonous. Is the problem?
Well, I think that if Adolf Hitler were alive, he'd give his best medal to Neil Rogers.
Well, I don't know. Neil Rogers doesn't say anything specifically that I'm thinking about what you're referring to as far as Hitler would say, but...
Oh, I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard it.
Well, take it, I understand that. Just take it, I think he is humorous, and there's this twinge of truth to everything, but when he's kidding around and just slinging names here and there, it's pretty much a joke, and you have to have a sense of humor when you're listening to that.
He can't have a sense of humor about what he says about a certain ethnic group, at least two of them. And as a matter of fact...
Well, you should call him. That's where, rather than talking to me and Sam about it now, and the show's about to end, but you should call him and tell him so. I think that'd be interesting.
I was going to suggest, sir, I thank you for your call, but it's time for me to thank my guest because we're about ready to get off the air. I thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night. Linda, thank you for coming. Come back. We'll do it again.
Thank you. Thanks for the great coffee you made. It was delicious.
I don't know. Too little. Too little. Carl, it's time to say bye-bye. We have 2 minutes yet. I do not plan to do any more commercials. I do not. Carl, I thank you for what you have done. By the way, what did you do? I always thank you. I've got the foggiest idea of what. That's awful. It's like being a professional nice guy. I once had Don Rickles on the air, you know? Murray Franklin used to be a sponsor. I'll have to make this fast. I got to get off the air. Don Rickles appeared there. I turned to Murray Franklin. I said, Murray, stop being a sponsor. He says, why? You got that much business? I said, no. I don't want to handle your account. He said, why not? I said, because I find Don Rickles offensive. I find him outrageous. I think it's hurting people who come into the club. He says, well, talk about other things. I said, he's your star. I can't ignore him. He said, what do you say? I said, one of the most vicious acts I have ever seen in my life is Don Rickles at Murray Franklin's. This may very well be a minority report because that club is jammed every single night. But I find him obnoxious and offensive. And I don't believe he'd have the guts to say to me on the air with me 5% of the things he says in the room. And by the way, he was on the air with me several months later. And I had to turn to him and say, tell me, which is your act, here or on the club floor? So that takes care of that. Linda, I love you, and I thank you for coming. Please come back.
Thank you. I'd love to.
Again, grab yourself a fistful of stars, and our guest, when we return next week, will be one of the real tough guys in town, but with gentility. Warmth, grace, and this guy is so good-looking, they tell me the senoritas throw rocks at Ricardo Montalban. He is the Dade Senior Public Defender. His name is Daniel Vallejos. Next Sunday night, meanwhile, fistful of stars, and hi, good morning.
1490 WMBM, Miami Beach.